let's explore even more autistic history in the Autism Wars. We are now at part 102. Alright, so Rimland considered a lot of things for autism. We are learning from our last video. He is a problematic person in our history, but let me share a bit more from this Wikipedia entry on the vaccinations question. Rimland considered them to be a prime suspect in the onset of autism. He maintained that while not proven, there was a direct link between thimerosal and autism. He supported Andrew Wakefield's now incredibly discredited suggestion that the MMR was linked to autism. Rimland contended that the vax triggered it, or autism, by placing a burden on the immune systems of kids between the ages of birth and 2. How far did he take this, right? He took it so far. He linked the increase of late onset autism. I think he invented that word. That whole idea of late onset autism, when you start getting into the transcripts, is a new special autism, not the same as classic autism, but we'll get to that more later. Anyhow, Rimland linked the increase of the late onset autism during the 80s with the introduction of the MMR. A correlation the CDC, the American Academy of Pediatrics, and the American Medical Association did not support. He rejected the idea that a diagnosis of autism around 18 months was the same time those were administered was coincidental. This is the cause correlation argument, right? Alright, so the truth was always known. They just didn't like it. And that's the thing about myth systems. Belief systems created around autism. The truth does not matter, even when it's right in front of their face. So, when the California Department of Health Services, along with studies from England and Finland, reported that the vaccines plays little or no role in the disease. Autism is not a disease, but my goodness, they say it a million times back in history, don't they? No wonder people were so confused. Rimland stated that it was much too early to dismiss the hypothesis. And he remained undeterred, and study after study after study, when they linked no evidence to autism. So anyhow, we'll skip past that, blah, blah, blah. And unfortunately, Rimland also introduced therapies that were not good, and they were harmful, but touted to be all natural. Alright, and one of those was chelation therapy, a treatment for lead and heavy metal poisoning. For some of these kids with autism, neither the American Academy of Pediatrics or FDA supported the use of it like this, and that didn't stop parents from using it because they were being taught how to do this in these autism groups online in places like Generation Rescue and Talk About Curing Autism Now, TACA, and all these other places. If not this particular one, then others like it, like diet therapy and secretion. Rimland supported research that focused on natural, non-toxic ways to address symptoms of autism, but you know, the harm that it causes autistic children is real, even if these are natural. Oh my gosh, it's horrible. And it's been in the news repeatedly in recent years, especially if you look up something like Miracle Mineral Solution, MMS. It was autistic activists that got them caught and charged, and I think they just got their sentences not long ago. But Rimland here advocated the use of secretin, a naturally occurring intestinal hormone, saying it's possibly the most important discovery in the history of autism. And he made some statements about if you did this, some dramatic improvement. Anyhow, it's snake oil. But it doesn't stop this industry at all. It is still very active. It is still very much out there, and it's still very much attaching itself to legitimate movements. But Rimland here is also in favor of something else. He's in favor of aversives. Rimland was in favor of aversives and testified against the Hughes Act, which restricted their use at least once. He misrepresented the views of his colleagues to make it seem as though they supported aversives when they did not, so as to further his viewpoint. After Rimland quoted Anne Donnellan and another anti-aversive behaviorist as being in support of the practice, Donnellan issued the following response. "We have never made or written such a statement. Dr. Rimland has been warned publicly and privately that to continue to use our names and our professional reputations to support positions that he espouses and we oppose exposes him to charges of unethical, illegal, as well as ridiculous conduct." All right, so that was about Bernard Rimland. Here's an entry about Autism Research Institute. It states here on the Wikipedia, ARI is an organization that created a controversial program, Defeat Autism Now, or DAN, D-A-N, in 1995. ARA was founded in 1967 by Bernard Rimland. Defeat Autism Now, or DAN, advocated for alternative treatments for autism and maintained a registry of doctors that were trained by the program to perform them. Dan was one of the more prominent advocates for the now discredited belief on one of the causes of autism. Its highest rated autism treatment was chelation therapy, which involves removing heavy metals from the body. Its chelation treatment is not supported by mainstream doctors. It can harm your kids, people. Doctors told the Chicago Tribune the treatments were dangerous and misleading tests were used to show that those with autism had a high rate of heavy metals. These people were liars and charlatans and snake oil, and they made so much freaking money. I can't even begin to tell you, but we'll tell you as time goes on in future videos. According to the Chicago Tribune, metals occur naturally in the body, and very little is known about what a normal range is. So as of 2009, 3/4 of families with a child diagnosed with autism will try an alternative treatment like those that were prescribed by Dan. Unbelievable. The Dan program and doctor registry was discontinued in January 2011, which was followed by the disbanding of the Dan conference in 2012. Now, there's a dark, ugly history here. We'll talk about more going forward, but to get a feel for another autism researcher and what they did in reality for autistic people and the autistic community, so vastly harmful. But that's why we're still activists today. And while this front in the Autism Wars for all natural therapies does not get funded by legislation and gets booted out, they are definitely raking in the money in a big way. Yes.